So what is Wagner? Wagner है क्या? Wagner is a paramilitary force. It is not officially part of the Russian armed force. It was run and controlled by Mr. Prigozhin. Mr. Prigozhin was the co-founder or the leader. It lasted for 244 days. A very long battle.
Very long battle.
Very long. Half of Ukraine's divisions were eaten up by Bakhmut. Wagner, they're trying to kill Wagner. ये सब नहीं चलेगा. It was a Hollywood-like deal. You guys come and join my military force. I will give you 20% chance of survival. You go and fight in Ukraine. Most likely you will die. If you survive, you will get your freedom and you will get honor.
So that
Okay,
is
let's
also...
talk about that coup. Huh?
Okay. Yeah.
So the Wagner coup, the Prigozhin coup. Mr. Prigozhin is dead now, right?
yeah.
So किस महीने में हुआ था? कुछ महीने पहले हुआ था,
Yeah.
right?
Some 3-4 months. Yeah.
So here's the deal. So what is Wagner? Wagner है क्या? Wagner is a paramilitary force. It is not officially part of the Russian armed forces.
It's a private army.
It's a private army. It's a mercenary army. Say whatever you want.
But they are very nationalist, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was run and controlled by Mr. Prigozhin. Mr. Prigozhin was the co-founder or the leader, let's say, of Wagner. They have a significant presence in Africa as well.
Okay.
That's a whole different story. We'll not go there right now. And Wagner was fighting the Battle of Bakhmut, which lasted for 244 days. A very long battle.
Very long battle.
Very long. It
They
was
say
called
it's a meat grinder or
the
something.
Bakhmut meat grinder. Horrible term, but yeah, accurate. Okay, about half of Ukraine's divisions were eaten up by Bakhmut.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so Wagner was fighting this. At some point in time, Mr. Prigozhin came out with a statement in which he blasted Sergei Shoigu and Mr. Gerasimov, the two top guys in the army, saying that they are not supplying Wagner with arms and ammunition, and they are trying to make sure that Wagner loses and gets killed. And he showed a whole number of bodies, Wagner people lying dead on the floor, on the ground, and he said that okay, I'm done. We are leaving Bakhmut now. Let the Russian army come in and do it. So we are leaving. We are done. Wagner, they're trying to kill Wagner. ये सब नहीं चलेगा. He says this, but he doesn't withdraw.
Okay.
He stayed in Bakhmut, and in 2 weeks he had won the Battle of Bakhmut. After saying all this,
Okay.
so he made it sound to the whole world like he was completely fed up. He was rebelling against Russia, against the Russian military. He was leaving Bakhmut, but actually he did the opposite. He stayed put and he defeated the Ukrainians.
So you're saying this is not a coup?
This is before the coup.
Okay.
This is before the coup. Okay, so he did this. So this is called a battlefield psyop. It is a battlefield psychological operation. You make it look like you're doing something, but you do the exact opposite. So that's what happened. So then they won Bakhmut. Then a month or two after that, Prigozhin once again comes out and says that the Russian military is trying to destroy Wagner with airstrikes and whatnot, and we are very unhappy. And then what he says is that we are now going to march on Moscow.
Okay.
So he pulls out the Wagner forces from Ukraine, okay, from southern Ukraine, goes eastwards, enters Russia near Rostov-on-Don. He takes the city of Rostov-on-Don, and he gets a good welcome from the citizens.
उधर का कोई headquarter he took over. Right?
Yeah, it was the main military headquarters of the Ukraine invasion.
The southern Russia.
Yeah, so he took that over. Then he starts moving northwards on the highway to Moscow. And the Russian military does nothing to stop him.
Okay.
Okay? He takes a city, nothing happens. He starts moving northwards towards Moscow, nothing happens. Then Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus makes the statement within 24 hours that he has negotiated with Mr. Prigozhin and now the coup is over. And within 24 hours, Wagner Group, the Wagner forces are in Belarus.
Okay.
Belarus पहुंच गए. Look at the map, you will see it's a weird, this kind of movement. So what actually happened? Under the pretext of a coup, Wagner redeployed itself from Ukraine into Belarus in full daylight with the Western media clapping.
So what is the actual things behind the scenes?
It was a redeployment of Wagner from point A to point B, and point A and point B are very far away, and they redeployed in broad daylight while saying we are doing coup. There was no coup.
So, but Prigozhin was killed?
Yeah, apparently he was killed. Maybe eventually
by West or Russia?
Look, the only force that can kill Prigozhin in Russia is Russia itself.
But why would they do it? Because अगर आप बोल रहे हैं कि
कुछ लोग बोलते हैं he is not dead, but वो अलग बात है. Look, see, Prigozhin has a very interesting history. He was a criminal. He spent many years in jail because of his criminal activities. Then he became a business person. He became the main caterer to the Kremlin itself. He established a good rapport with Mr.
food
Putin.
caterer you're talking about.
Food. He was a chef.
Wow.
He established a good rapport with Mr. Putin. He has known Mr. Putin for 20 years, and then he got into Wagner. He recruited people from the prisons in Russia.
Wow.
The deal that it was a Hollywood-like deal. You guys come and join my military force. I will give you a 20% chance of survival. You go and fight in Ukraine. Most likely you will die. If you survive, you will get your freedom and you will get honor, and you don't have to go back to jail. So that's how we recruited people from
Suicide squad.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So he recruited people from prisons in Russia, and he did a great job of creating this Wagner organization. Maybe he crossed certain lines here or there,
Okay.
which is perhaps why he was killed off. But see, the thing is this: he did not die a traitor's death. In Russia, there are many traitors who go to the West and sell Russian secrets to the West. People like Sergei Skripal, Alexander Litvinenko, people who have been exposed as anti-Russia spies, let's say. These people typically are poisoned by the Russian forces, and it's typically either polonium or some radioactive substance that is.
Okay.
So traitors are poisoned. Okay, Prigozhin died in a plane crash. He died a warrior's death. So he was not poisoned. And
But why was he supposed to be dead? That's
see,
the
we
question.
don't know why. We don't know why. There must be a reason. Okay.
So this behind the scenes is something very.
Oh, there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes. Okay, it's
Wow.
always a dangerous world that you inhabit when you're doing these activities. Maybe he criticized Mr. Putin. Maybe he said that the invasion was not run properly, or maybe I don't know. He
But
somewhere he
did-
crossed the line.
He did exactly what Putin would have wanted, right?
But you can't say certain things in public.
But then you have to make it also look like a coup.
Yeah, so you make it look like a coup by criticizing the Russian military, by criticizing Sergei Shoigu, by criticizing Gerasimov, by criticizing various people. You don't criticize the boss. So maybe he crossed the line somewhere, but he was still not he did not die a traitor's death. He died a warrior's death,
Okay.
and he was given a state funeral.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Putin also obliquely referred to the death and gave condolences. He condoled everybody who died on the plane crash.
Okay.
So that also includes
Basically.
so that sort of thing.
So
yeah.
So now, when you say that Wagner Group went to Belarus, was it meant to have a safe passage for them to be in a friendly country, or do they want to even take over Belarus? Because
So Belarus is, you could say, a vassal of Russia.
yeah.
Belarus is 100% aligned with Russia.
Yes.
Alexander Lukashenko is Putin's guy. And the Russians have even deployed tactical nuclear weapons on Belarus territory, which tells you how much synergy there is between the two nations. It's like the same nation, more or less.
Yeah.
More or less, okay?
Belarus.
And Belarus is north of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So if you want to do further operations in Ukraine, it makes sense to have Wagner redeploy in the north, and then Kiev is not so
They
far.
always had their army ready at the border anyway. Belarus army, right?
Belarus, yes,
Yeah.
but to do certain operations, you want plausible deniability.
Yeah.
So then you use a paramilitary force. So there are reasons why you
You
would
have to
want
even
have.
play the international audience.
There are lots of considerations in this. So if you want plausible deniability, if you want to use a parallel military force instead of the actual military, then you redeploy Wagner there and get some things done. So they are there right now. Some parts of Wagner are still there. Some of maybe after Mr. Prigozhin's death, some elements of Wagner have been reabsorbed into the Russian military, perhaps.
Okay.
So there is some restructuring that's happened, but overall it still exists.